Good day, Deepnword Family. Welcome to day 170 of our Bible study review. Today we're going through chapters 40 through 41 of the book of Ezekiel. Now, before we get into reading a short review of chapters 40 through 41, of course, I have to mention the elephant in the room. This is a very controversial topic and subject, Ezekiel's temple, the vision that he received. Many within the body do not agree what this means, right? Some believe that this is the millennial temple that we will see during the reign of our Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, and others disagree that this is not the temple that we will see during the millennial reign. And I want to supply resources for both viewpoints for why this might not be the temple during the millennial reign and why this might be the temple during the millennial reign. It is not just believers in Messiah who have trouble with this, but many rabbis and sages of the past, right? Those who have not come into faith of Messiah, Yeshua, they have had issues with the book of Ezekiel, so much so they were trying to exclude it from being in the Tanakh. It's also important to note that Ezekiel's vision of the temple is not the measurements nor the pattern for the second temple that was present during our Messiah's first coming, the temple of Ezra and Nehemiah. This is not the model for that, because as we keep reading, we will see how this differs from the tabernacle model and Solomon's temple model. We will see that there are some things that are missing, some things that are completely different. Even the sacrificial system that is in these chapters differs from that in the book of Leviticus. Those were some of the issues and problems that many of the Jews had with the vision of Ezekiel's temple. And many of the believing followers of Messiah also have issues with this temple in Ezekiel's vision because of the sacrifices that are mentioned within. Now, if this is your first time reading the Bible, you're probably going to have trouble with all of this all around, because many are just coming to the realization that there will be 1,000-year millennial reign. And now many within the body of Messiah are divided on that as well. Some think that this is a spiritual thing, that it's not literal. I am one of those people who believes that it is absolutely literal. And so did the disciples during the time of our Messiah's first coming. They asked him after he raised back from the dead if now would be the time that he would establish the kingdom here upon the earth. They were waiting for it. They were expecting Messiah to bring the kingdom and unite all of the tribes, all 12 tribes together right then and there, because they were aware of the promises made to King David about one who would come through his body, through his loins, who would be a king, who would have a kingdom forever upon the throne. That king is our Messiah, and he most certainly is going to set up a literal kingdom 1,000 years long, which represents the seventh day, the Sabbath day. Now, within the millennial kingdom, there will be weekly Sabbaths. There will still be biblical feasts that we will be observing during that time. And one of the feasts mentioned throughout Scripture that is required during the millennial reign, it is the Feast of Tabernacles. In the last chapter of Zechariah, this speaks of the time of the millennial reign. So it's chapter 14, it starts at verse 16, and it talks about the fact that all of the nations, right, there will be flesh and blood who repopulate the earth, and this chapter reveals who those people are. It will not be us. We will be translated, and we will be his royal priesthood. But there will be survivors through the tribulation period who walk into the millennial reign, and they repopulate the earth with the righteous king, Yeshua HaMashiach. All right? So let's read Zechariah chapter 14, starting at verse 16. It says this: "Then it will be that all of the nations who have come against Jerusalem and survived will go up each year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles." So I believe this is talking about Armageddon, those who came up against Jerusalem during that time, and the survivors from that enter into the millennial reign, all right? And so this is what it says. This is what they will have to do, right? While surviving through it and walking into the millennial reign. And it will happen that if any of the families of the earth do not go up to Jerusalem and worship the King, the Lord of hosts, then there will not be rain for them. If the family of Egypt does not go up and enter in, they shall have no rain. This will be the plague with which Yahweh strikes the nations that do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all of the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Again, this is not us. We are his royal priesthood. Our bodies will be translated into incorruptible bodies, just like our Messiah. But there will be survivors who repopulate the earth, all right? And they will be required to come up once a year at the Feast of Tabernacles. Now I want to take you back to Isaiah chapter 2 and read something from there. Let's start reading in chapter 2, verse 2 of Isaiah. And I promise you, I'm leading up to something for better understanding. Let's start reading. It says, in the last days, the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established on top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all of the nations shall flow to it. Many people shall go and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God, or the Elohim of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, or the Torah, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. He shall judge among the nations, and he shall rebuke many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor shall they learn war anymore. This is the time of the millennial reign of our Messiah. So there will be a temple during that time. And now I want to take you to the back of the book where we see no temple when New Jerusalem comes down, right? And the Father and our Messiah is dwelling amongst us. So it's chapter 21 of Revelation, starting in verse 21. The 12 gates were the 12 pearls, each of the gates made of a single pearl, and the street of city was pure gold, transparent as glass. I saw no temple in the city, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. So there is a temple during the millennial reign, but when New Jerusalem comes down, there's no more temple. All right, I want to read verse 23 and then I will be done. The city has no need of sun or moon to shine in it, for the glory of Elohim is its light, and the lamp is the Lamb, who is Messiah. Now keep this in mind as I share both viewpoints in the description box below. Now, this does not negate the fact that we ourselves are living, walking, talking tabernacles, housing the spirit of our Elohim. This does not negate that whatsoever. We need to know and understand the Father's heart from the very beginning. He always wanted to dwell among his people, but we know that the first Adam saw him face to face in the beginning, but when he sinned, he no longer was able to be in his presence. Any man who would ever see the face of the Father would die instantly. Why? Because he's in this flesh suit, right? And we know that even in the tabernacle, even in the temple of old, the temple had to be cleansed, right? The people had to be cleansed before they would come in and perform any services unto him. They themselves had to be cleansed. Now we are the priesthood, and we are definitely cleansed, washed by the blood of our Messiah. And during the millennial reign, we are his priesthood, and we are also being prepared to be offered back up to the Father as a perfect sacrifice. We will be living out the priesthood, right? I don't know exactly what that is going to look like, but that is why I am presenting both cases for both views, and I just wanted to set the foundation before you would move forward and watch the case for both sides. I myself am not 100% for or against either view. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like when we walk into the millennial reign. Much of this just requires trust and faith in the Messiah. What we don't know and understand now, we will when he returns. We will when we see his face. There's definitely more for us to learn from the walking, talking Torah himself. With all of that being said, now I'm going to open up chapter 40 and read from the first portion. It says right here in verse 1, in the 25th year of our captivity, in the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after the city was struck, and that city was Jerusalem, it says, on that very day, the hand of Yahweh was upon me, and he brought me there. In the visions of Elohim, he brought me into the land of Israel and set me upon a very high mountain, on which was the frame of the city on the south. He brought me there, and there was a man whose appearance was like the appearance of bronze, with a line of flax and a measuring reed in his hand. And he stood in the gate. The man said to me, Son of man, look with your eyes and hear with your ears, and set your heart on all that I show you. For you have been brought here to show it to you. Declare all that you see to the house of Israel. And so Ezekiel has this vision of a temple, right? And this is the debate. Which temple is it? Is this ever going to be built, or is this just a vision of what could have been? All right, so he goes through and he is shown the east gate, the outer court, the north gate, the south gate, the inner court, and he also sees the chambers for washing the sacrifice. This is what many have an issue with. And the viewpoint in favor of Ezekiel's temple being the temple during the Millennial Reign gives an explanation of the sacrifices in this temple. I'm not telling you what to believe in. I'm just showing you resources for why there are strong points for both viewpoints, all right? And so we will see also in this temple the chambers for the singers and the priests, and then it says the vestibule of the temple. And then chapter 41 is all of the inner temple, right? The most holy place, and it is completely different from any other temple that was built in the past. Now, you may already have a strong stance for or against one of these positions, but I just want to play the advocate, right? And show you reasons for both sides, why both sides may or may not be possible. Whatever your stance is, whatever it is that you believe, please approach your brethren with love and respect and dignity and honor. And I want to let you know that the videos that I have attached down below, I feel that way towards both. Love and respect and honor those who honor the Messiah, who keep the commandments of the Father, right? And who strive to do everything that they possibly can to understand these scriptures and to bring further understanding unto the brethren. Maybe watching both sides will help you as you read through the rest of the book of Ezekiel. Deepnword family, that's all that I have for you today. Until tomorrow, Yah bless.